You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of, What If Naruto Enters Aliens vs Predators? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Hector Flores on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. 30 minutes later the house looked like nothing had happened. He opened the door for her, and she stepped inside. As she stepped inside he took her up in his arms and carried her to their bedroom. He really wanted to connect with her, but she told him that today was not a good day. She insisted to become a mother, only after what she considered a proper wedding. So he took a very cold shower and slept in a different room. He knew that if she was close he would want to be with her, and he respected her too much to insist on it. After a particularly lonely, cold and restless evening, they woke up, they gave each other a good morning kiss, and ate their breakfast. Now Death, why don't you tell me the real reason why you wanted to train Sai? Naruto smiled at his mate, because it might give me an idea, how tough the training of Danzo's route really is. Orochimaru was not acting alone. He had help from someone, and the perfect person to do that would be Danzo. Kurenai asked him why he believed that. He is a dear friend to our current Hokage. You know how trusting the man is. Do you think he would suspect him of using Orochimaru to kill him, and take over as Hokage? It was no big secret, that Danzo was in fact always after the position of Hokage. Some believe that he still wanted the position even now. So it would make sense for him to use Orochimaru. The snake sage would jump at any chance of destroying the village, for the same reason that he would kill Hiruzen. Orochimaru also wanted to be Hokage, but Minato was named Hokage instead. This caused his betrayal of the village in the first place. How do you plan to spy on Sai and Danzo? He smiled and told her that he had a special modified gravity seal, that would record everything the person wearing it would say or hear. He then pointed at the scroll. That scroll had a seal that would transcribe everything from the other seal. How much do you really know about seals? Naruto kissed her. Just as much as an elder Uzumaki. Naruto excused himself, and went to meet his trainee, leaving a very shocked Kurenai. The Uzumaki were known to be masters at the sealing arts. She left to meet Hinata, and they would have some time to train, and do the thing most would expect, gossip. Very well, Sai, how about you stop hiding and come over here? There is something I need to do before we begin. Sai jumped out of the bushes behind him. He was sure that he was in his blind spot. You breathing and smell gave you away. We didn't bother with washing our teeth this morning, did we? Sai told him that he was excited to see what he had planned for his training. Naruto asked first to tell him everything he could do, and his strange drawing ability made him smile. Very well, you will work on your physical strengths, learn a new fighting style, and finally with the help of learning about seals your paint attacks should improve a lot. Now you are getting a seal, that will stay on till I tell you to take it off. And don't try to lie, for I will know when you try to turn it off or try to take it off. Sai under his instructions exposed the top part of his body. Naruto drew the seal and placed it on his back, while removing what seemed to be a self-destruction seal from the same place. Very well, we shall start with 500 push-ups, 500 pull-ups, and 300 laps around this place. When you are done with that warm-up, you will start learning the fighting style through spars with me, and I will teach you about seals as we let our bodies cool down. Got it? Sai nodded his head. Well, don't waste time and get to it. Sai could hardly hold his breath after he finished the supposed light warm-up. He asked him why he felt so heavy. As Naruto let him catch his breath, he explained that the seal he was now wearing was a gravity seal. This seal would make it so that all his body would be under a much greater weight. The seal would help him build muscle and stamina. Later next week the weight would double, then he would have to start using chakra constantly just to move. He would explain next week. They fought each other for 2 hours and Sai was sure of two things: he was happy not to be his enemy, and that he was taking it easy on him. The basics of the style were harder than he figured. After they were done he explained how seals worked and how he could incorporate different seals on each of his ink-based attacks. He explained that it was much like a painter adding his signature on a finished painting. This made the entire concept more easy for him to understand. The month they would practice and create different seals for him to feel comfortable using. He left him with an idea: what if he didn't need a scroll to write on? What if he could draw in the air instead? The idea was crazy to Sai, but it was food for thought. The first week was just as Naruto expected. He made Sai work to the bone, and Sai did not complain, not even once. At the very least not when he was present. Thanks to the seal he could read what his trainee was saying about him in private, and it was something between SLV driver and wanting to make him work till he dropped dead. Which he found pretty funny, since he also had the same thoughts when Void was making him do even worse things to make sure he knew everything he needed to survive. He knew then that if he ever saw his mother, he would have to apologize to her, and thank her for everything she did for him. Sai did not meet with Danzo that week, since he was too busy trying to get all the information he needed to send to his pawn, and try not to make Orochimaru realize that he was being used. Minato's death was a happy occasion for him, but quickly became his worst day. His old friend decided to take back the position of Hokage, denying him yet again his rightful position and denying Konoha the right to have a leader that would make them the strongest hidden village ever. Saturday came, and Sai had progressed rather quickly in his training. But this was the day that he told his student to turn off his seal, which he did, and for a split second he felt like he could fly. He felt as light as a feather, and did all the warm-up exercises like it was nothing at all. He asked Naruto what was going on. Naruto laughed and told him that today his body would get used to his new speed and stamina. During the break after the warm-up exercises he explained the way he would use his chakra. He would use it to strengthen his muscles, as he was going to need to use it to be able to move. After all, the next time he activated the seal, his weight would be twice as before. Sai asked what was the purpose of him having to use chakra while living under the seal. Naruto told him that it would slowly increase his chakra capacities, and it would also prove to be useful during battle. Sai started using his chakra to strengthen his muscles during the sparring matches, and even though he was faster, and thanks to his use of chakra stronger, he was still beaten by Naruto, who looked like he was still taking it easy on him. The seal practice too seemed to be going great. With his new speed he did not take as long as to finish him ink-based attacks, or the seals. The final lecture of the day was on how to write on air. He taught him that with enough chakra control, a person could gather chakra into the air, and make it possible to write seals on it, and make it look like he was writing on air. As the day was over he activated the seal once again, but this time Sai was flat on the ground. Now you see why, you need to use chakra all the time, when the seal is on, right? Sai used chakra like he did on their spars and slowly stood up. I just did not expect it to feel that heavy. Naruto laughed and told him to be ready and picture how it would feel after the month was over. He remembered that wonderful feeling of being faster, and feeling lighter. This feeling made him feel better about the trouble he endured while using the seal. The scroll that was transcribing what he said stopped recording complaints. The scroll stopped recording anything out of the ordinary. This made him feel that Sai actually was getting used to his seal. He did read something at the middle of the week. Apparently Sakura wanted to train and was asking him if the person training him could also train her. Sai told her to follow him Saturday and maybe his trainer would allow it, but he knew that it was almost certain that he would not. The guy was brutal in his training regiment, made Guy seem like he was actually taking it easy with Lee. The training continued and he began to grasp the basics of his fighting style. It was as if he was learning by seeing how it was done, teaching by example. Naruto used the same training method his mother used. Predator mothers teach by example, they rarely lecture, and they never expect their children to do anything they cannot do themselves. Void would call his training a day having fun. But these omen did not have the benefit of the BLD infusion. The BLD of his mother gave him a home, a family and strength that these omen could only dream about. Thanks to the seal, he could beat the elder if he really wanted to. Saturday finally came, and Sakura was following Sai, and he knew it. As he stood in front of Naruto, Naruto looked at the trees above them. Sai, remind me, when did I say you could bring guests? Sai told him he never even asked. So please tell me why is a certain pink-haired teammate of yours up on that tree? Sai was surprised to see that Naruto could see her. Sakura, you have two choice, either come down here and tell me why you are here, or I will think that you are going to try and ambush me, to try and kill me. If you don't come down in 10 seconds, I will go up there and end your life. Sakura was stunned by this, until she heard him start counting. When the count reached 5 she jumped down the tree and slid down the tree trunk till she was standing on the ground. I want you to train me. Sasuke had Kakashi training him, Sai has you. I am the only one without someone training me. Naruto stood in place and looked at her with as much killer intent as he could muster. Sakura looked like she did when she met Zabuza for the first time. He dropped his killer intent, and walked over to her. You betrayed me once already, tell me why I should train you, or even speak with you at all. And don't even try to pretend to cry, tears have no effect on me. Sakura looked at him, and genuinely felt sad. I want to grow stronger so that Sasuke can see I am a better choice than Haku. Naruto walked over to Sai, and told him to begin the warm-up, after he deactivated the seal, to get used to his body. Sai did and began moving a whole lot faster. Naruto continued to watch Sai work out and did not say a word. Will you train me? Naruto did not even look at her. No. I will not. Sakura walked over to him and demanded to know the reasons. I do not waste my time, Sai is a dedicated, focused, and properly motivated student. That is why I train him. To help him achieve his goals because I believe they are goals worth pursuing. You are not like him. Sakura asked him to tell her the real reason. You want to train to attract a guy, therefore you want to grow stronger for selfish reasons. That sort of reason is weak, and I do not waste my time. When you figure out why you should really be stronger, come and find me. Then I will train you, but not before. Sai and Naruto began their spar and Naruto saw something that made him begin to use a higher form of his fighting style. It seemed Sai was progressing rather well. It made him feel proud for his student, and happy that he was closer to seeing Sai ready to pursue his goals. Sakura saw how brutal his attacks were, and began to think a real reason. Naruto hates selfish reasons, but what other reasons were there? Then it hit her, for selfless reasons. To protect the village, to protect innocent people like in the bridge mission, to make sure he could always be strong enough, to protect others and not worry his loved ones. It was simple, yet almost poetic. The two began their lecture and questions and answers segment of their training. Death, I have a reason why you should train me. Naruto stood and waited her answer. To protect the innocent, this village and to be strong enough to help and not worry my loved ones. Naruto smiled. So you finally see why pursuing just one guy is a waste of time. If you want him, that is not important. Become strong, become capable, and sharpen your skills, and you will not have to chase him. Your man will find you. Sai liked that answer and so did Sakura. He told her something that made her blush so much, that he was expecting her hair to burst in flames. He told her to take off her top and showed him her back. Sai told her that it was for a very special seal. He had one too. Sakura turned around and took off her clothes off except her BR. He took out his pen and needles and began to draw the seal, a regular seal, that would look just like the one on Sai. He activated it and Sakura felt like another Sakura was on top of her. This is a gravity seal, and you will not turn it off. I will know if you do, and if you do it without my permission, your training is over. Naruto told Sai to teach the new student the regular training regiment. She was ready to faint by the time they finished doing the warm-up. Alright, this is our daily warm-up. Sakura looked at him as if almost hoping that he was kidding. Now you spar with Death, and then I think he will pick a subject for you to focus on. Sakura walked over to him and tried to hit him using the standard academy style. He caught every punch, and every kick and countered them. Then he looked at his eyes, and saw as if he was using the Byakugan. You are in my field of vision. This really scared her and she tried more desperately to knock him out. There was no way she wanted him to use the gentle fist style. After the spar he told Sai to teach her the basics of the style he was teaching him. Sai agreed. Sakura asked what she was going to learn, and he told her she was going to learn basic medical techniques. But be warned, since you joined this training from the second week, you would have to work harder than Sai to catch up. First complaint, the very first plea for me to take it easy and you are out. As she began to walk towards her now empty home, she began to wonder why he was so severe with his students, she began to wonder why he fought against Sai with such vicious attacks, and almost seemed like he was aiming to kill him. His lectures had no fun comments, it was clear to the point, and dry as a bone that had been dried by the sun. She finally saw someone who would know the answers, and so she asked a few questions to Kurenai. Kurenai was happy to answer her questions. Death teaches like that because it is his way to make sure his students live. He said it once, that it is better to get beaten and injured in practice and live, than to be beaten and die on the field of battle. Enemies would have no pity on them, so he would make them feel what that would be like, in a generally safe way. He simply cares about his students, and wants them to live. Sakura told her that it was not as if they were going to find any more enemies in the exams, now that Orochimaru was out of the picture. Death thinks that the final phase will be a tournament between the people taking the exams. So in a sense there will be a miniature war in that stadium. So he will make sure his students come out of it, alive. Ino decided to meet up with the rival she now believed to be still mute, when she greeted Sakura using her nickname for her and Sakura called her the nickname she had for her. She was surprised to say the least. Sakura, how in the world can you talk? Sakura looked at her and she had a very serious look. The Hokage decided to do something about my trauma. Ino asked what the Hokage did. Sakura explained that first he gave her a verbal beatdown, about being too stupid for her own good, then he explained that the fact that she told her mother a secret, did not cause her death, and her mother was the only one responsible for her own death. When that did not work he locked her in a room with no way out, other than to call for help. The Hokage pretty much told her, you speak or you starve to death, your choice. I got things to do but I will check on you every few days. And the idea of dying, and being hungry already pretty much made me scream for him to let me out, in 2 minutes that I was trapped down there. Go ahead Ino pig, I know you want to make fun of it. Don't hold back on my account. Go ahead and let loose. But do it quickly, I got one hell of a training tomorrow. Ino understood what she was talking about. Fear could be a great motivator, but what training? As far as she knew all teachers were busy training students from their own teams. I know now why he was named Death, because his training is liable to kill me. Sakura began telling her former rival, her new training schedule, and she could not believe it. Are we sure this guy is not related to Mike Guy? Sakura joked that if he wore the jumpsuit and started spotting the same speech, they might even seem like brothers. I can even imagine him saying the whole flames of youth, and making a crazy bet involving some form of exercise. Little did the two know that Naruto was listening to their conversation. So she wants to see me say that, well she did rather well for her first day, why don't I give her a nice scare? The very next day she walked towards the training field, she tried to run, but under the seal that was not going to happen. When Sai and Sakura arrived to the training field they saw something that sent chills down their spines. Death was actually behaving very happy to see them. Yash, my youthful students have arrived, are you ready to make the flames of your youth burn brighter than the sun? Sakura and Sai looked at each other thinking the same thing, please, tell me you are joking. The warm-up exercises were over and Sai first fought Naruto to learn more advanced moves for the style he was learning, and then Sai fought Sakura to continue teaching her the basics. As they finished and went on to the lecture segment of the training, Sai continued to practice making his seals, and trying to get chakra to concentrate in the air enough to write on. Sakura received a lecture on pressure points, and poisons. When the group was ready to leave they saw Might Guy, and Lee walking together. Naruto looked at his students ready to complete their nightmare training session. Yash, my youthful students, you have shown me how brighter the flames of youth burn in you. I promise to do my best to train you to be Chunin, and if I fail I will do 500 laps around Konoha on my hands. Guy and Lee both looked so happy that they finally had someone that felt like they did. Yash, and if you fail I will do 2,000 push-ups with just my thumbs. Sakura was looking up into the sky, and was praying. Please dear God, let this nightmare be over, followed by an amen from Sai. Sai, Guy, and Lee left and there were only Sakura and Naruto. I think that will teach you not to gossip about your training. Sakura looked at him, and could swear that he did the whole thing to teach her a lesson. This tournament is to earn a higher rank with the ninja of a village. I expect your opponents to do anything, from poison your food to even spy to learn how you are training. Remember the girl you were talking with, could be your opponent in the final phase. Sakura could kick herself for not thinking along those lines. She told Ino everything about their training. As for punishment, she suddenly felt a lot heavier. Use chakra on your limbs, to make them stronger. She followed his instructions, and it worked. Now you do that till your training is over at the end of the month. Sakura asked him the reason for the punishment. You are a ninja, you should know how helpful the element of surprise is. This will increase your speed, strength, stamina, and chakra capacity. This should be useful when you go up against those people that were spying on you and your friend. She looked at him with relief, so you were not the only one listening to what we were saying. Who says I was there to listen? I was there to make sure you were safe after your training, and see what else I needed to teach you. Sakura could hardly believe this guy was once someone she called a demon. She remembered all the time training with Kakashi, and this guy in 2 days made Kakashi look like an absolute joke as a teacher. And so the week continued and the training got more difficult, and harder. The way his clan teach their young was not for the faint of heart, or those of weak resolves. Children either grow and adapt or they die. Sakura was really something when she finally got out of her fangirl phase. She actually was now on par with Sai, on knowledge and level on their seals. The last thing that changed was one of the things she always hated about herself. She always hated to feel and be called flat-chested. But now she had a respectable C-cup size melons. When she asked Naruto, he told her that women contain most of their chakra in their melons. So if your opponent was a DDE, you know you are in for one hell of a fight. The day they both deactivated their seals, Sai was used to the feeling, but not Sakura, and she was really enjoying it. The exercises seemed like nothing, and the spar was becoming easier for both of them. During the lecture part they both asked how could they tell the level of the gravity seal when active. Naruto looked at them and showed them his right palm. The seal was there and active. It's surrounded by black marks. He told them the number of marks was the level. This came to be a major shock. He had a level 12 gravity seal the entire time, and they had to really work to get used to level 2. Sai and Sakura then realized, he did teach by example, and he pushed himself harder than he ever pushed them. They truly understood the caring nature of the man before them, and as appreciation. They would work harder, so that one day they too could reach a level close to his. Sai practiced on the seals and Sakura learned about toxins, and to combine different things to make different effects happen in a human body. They ranged from healing to write down kill, from making someone aroused to the point of insanity, to sad to the point of suicide. The mixture combination were endless, and in some cases very frightening. When they activated the seal, and he made sure it was the right level, he was asked one question by both of them: when do you turn your seal off? Naruto looked at them and said that only when he needed to protect someone he really cared for, or when he was in a fight that could end his life. Otherwise he never deactivated his seal. He was already wearing the maximum level after all. By the 3rd week Sakura was getting some people to really give her looks of interest. She had continued to practice the basics on her own, and now they both were sparring against Naruto at the same time. Sai for once in his life felt like he was learning from someone worthy of his respect, but this respect was earned, and not demand from him like Danzo did to the other people en route. Sai began making seals in the air and it was a lot of fun. Sakura could mix a medicine or a poison and make them look exactly the same, only she knew the difference. During the last week he began to teach them how to actually use a weapon. The theory was simple, but the practice made what they learned in the academy look like a joke. He told them that a weapon was not a simple thing to use to kill things with, it was a part of them, as such they needed to learn to maintain and repair their weapons, just as they would heal and maintain their bodies. Sakura asked him why did they need to learn how to mend a katana or a kunai, there were blacksmiths that could do that. Naruto looked at her and with a cold glare he asked her one question, how do you know if that blacksmith is not making your weapon weaker, so that someone else can kill you later? Sai understood the meaning behind the question. They needed to know because then they would be able to tell how strong their weapon was or their opponent's. There were a lot of samurai that died because their sword broke when they needed it the most. That Saturday Kurenai went to meet her mate, and see how their students were doing. She saw both of his students fight at an incredible speed, after the spar was over. Naruto told them that their seals would upgrade every time they deactivated them. To take their time, and in a matter of a few years they would catch up to his. He also warned them that if they tried to make the seal the highest sooner than they were ready, their bodies would not handle the strain and they would die. Sakura and Sai knew that he was telling the truth and trusted him. Death, I have to be honest with you. Danzo is planning to kill the third Hokage during the final fight of the tournament. He always hated the Hokage, for keeping him from becoming Hokage himself. Naruto smiled at him, I also have to be honest, that seal also has a spy seal on it, I placed it there to know what you were listening and saying. Finally the seal of the root, I took it off, it was a self-destruct seal that he could activate with a single word, and kill you, leaving nothing but ash. Sakura asked if she also had a seal like Sai, and Naruto told her she did. It is meant to get to know your students, I simply used it to spy on Sai's activities, and to learn about you, Sakura. They both understood the reason, and they both thanked him for his honesty. Sai also thanked him for saving his life, and now that he knew about seals, he could try and make the others en route see the truth about Danzo and his seal. Sakura ran home and was getting ready to give the people in the tournament a real surprise. Kurenai walked over her mate and smiled at him. She even joked that maybe he should consider teaching a squad of his own. I told you, my love. I will never join this village, and I will never be under the orders of the Hokage, but I will help the current Hokage since he is honorable. My only loyalty is to my clan and to you. Really important people, civilians and even some mayor businessmen showed up for the exams. The final phase was going to be a tournament, held in the village arena. Naruto and Kurenai did the last checks on their plan. Naruto would see the fights hidden near the Hokage, and Kazekage. Kurenai would watch out for Genjutsu, and see if she could spot anyone from route nearby. If things were going to happen as they deduced, Danzo would try and attack Hiruzen and he would have his route attack the leader of Fire Country. Without effective leadership he would take over not only the village but the nation as well. Sound and Kabuto would be the Inital distraction, and the signal for his forces to attack. Due to the actions of Naruto, Gaara was now a much more calm person, and his siblings were grateful for it. The Kazekage was too, but he had to look like it was nothing major. Any weakness he showed to others could lead to the death of his children, no father ever wanted that to happen. The Hokage finally stood up and began his introductory speech. Greetings to our guest, and congratulations to the people who made it thus far. I know that you are wondering why do we hold the last part as a tournament in an arena. These exams were first made to stop the hidden villages from openly attacking each other, and cause a war. So this last phase we can release all the pent-up anger we have, and hold a small competition. The strength of the villages who pass, make it so attacking them would be a losing prospect. So to protect your homes, and your people. Fight with everything you have. And so I start the final phase of these Chunin exams. The time between fights Naruto saw Hinata warming up. Kiba and Shino were in deep conversation with their partners. Sakura had gotten a shorter haircut, and Sai was preparing several ink bottles. All in all, it looked like they were ready for not only the exams, but for anything that came their way. Hinata's fight began and was over so quick, that Asuma did not finish lighting his cigarette when it was over. Kiba was looking at her, and began shouting how great her fight was. Shino was happy that he knew at least one person would give him a decent enough of a challenge. Teaching Sai how to do seals was what really made the difference in his fight. He drew a tiger with an absorption seal as part of the tiger. This meant that every time the tiger attacked his opponent, and touched him, he would absorb some of the opponent's chakra. Thus the tiger was self-sustaining. What really shocked everyone when Shino called the tiger a copycat. This made the people around him laugh. It seemed he did not like the idea of something else trying to do something his bugs did. I guess he always had a bit of pride in the abilities of his clan. When Sakura was up to fight against one of the remaining sound ninja, the people that knew her believed that she was going to lose and fast. But Sakura simply took a mask and placed it on her face, and as the fight started the sound ninja tried to knock her out, but instead Sakura threw 3 strange-looking pouches. Sakura told her opponent to give up or be ready for a humiliation he would never forget. Her opponent flipped her off, which made Sakura snap her fingers and one of the pouches burst open and a strange color smoke came out and hit the opponent full blast. The sound ninja did not know what was going on, but he was laughing like he was told the best joke ever. Sakura again told him to give up. The man did not move and she snapped her fingers yet again. A green smoke hit her opponent next, and he began crying like they told him that his mother had killed herself. Sakura warned him that the last pouch would be the last thing he would ever see. The sound ninja did not believe her, and so she snapped her fingers one last time. A red smoke hit him, and he began to claw his own face. He looked like he had the worst itch ever, and as he clawed his own eyes out, he fell in a bloody mess on the ground, barely alive. Sasuke was heard telling Sai, to remind him to never PSS her off. Sai could not believe what had happened, then he remembered the things their teacher had taught them. The field was cleared of the opponent, carried out in a stretcher, and the air was cleared via a wind jutsu and fire jutsu combination. Ino looked at Sakura and asked if she went all out on him. Sakura smiled and told her that she even took it easy on him. She had much worse than that, as she took out a small purple ball. The stuff in this thing wouldn't even leave his bones. She placed the ball back in the pouch and Ino saw that she had ball and pouches of all different colors. She began to pray that she was not her opponent. Sakura took off her mask and watched the fight that came next. Sasuke used the Chidori against Gaara, but Gaara buried him up to his neck in sand. The thing he attacked was a sand clone. The new seal had done wonders for him, being able to think straight improved his fighting abilities immensely. As the final fight was between Gaara and Lee, people watched as the boy did wonders, even without the ability to use any jutsu. He fought Gaara with just his taijutsu and speed alone. But as the fight really began to intensify, the sound ninja jumped out of hiding around the village and began attacking the key places, such as the hospital and the academy. Sai managed to convince many of his friends of Danzo's betrayal and of his intentions for them. He removed their seals and were now fighting the sound ninja at the hospital and academy. They would save as many people as they could. Danzo went to him to inform him of someone trying to steal all the scrolls in the library. But this was a ruse, and the real reason was plain to see, as Danzo took a kunai and stabbed the man in the gut. How long, Danzo? How long have you been planning to betray me, my old friend? Danzo looked at him and told him since he was not selected to be the third Hokage, that he betrayed him first, by taking the position that should be his. Naruto still hidden, he threw his lance and it went straight through him and nailed Danzo on a wall. He appeared and using his wrist blades he took his dead clean off. He walked over to Hiruzen and told him he had a medicine that could heal his injuries, but he had no knowledge on what it would do to an woman of his age. Seeing that he only had seconds to live, he took the pill and swallowed it. The wound closed and it looked like he was perfectly alright, except that he could not feel his feet. The medicine had the negative consequence of paralyzing him from the hip down. Naruto apologized, but Hiruzen told him he made the choice. Kabuto and 1/5 of his men escaped. The doctor told the Hokage that the medicines needed to work their way out of his system, and it looked like they needed a doctor to help the process along. The Kazekage and his people stayed to help the village rebuild. It was his way to thank them for what they managed to do for his son and for saving his life. As for the people who passed the Chunin exams, Sasuke, Sai, Hinata, Kiba and Shino passed. Sakura did not because she had betrayed the trust of someone important for the Hokage, and thus proved to be unworthy to handle the duties of the rank. Temari and Gaara passed to Chunin, but Kankuro did not pass due to his attitude problem with a few of the village children. Sakura would gain the rank of Chunin when she had done enough things, to prove that she had the right mindset to do her duty as a Chunin. Kankuro would become Chunin when he learned a lot about diplomacy. Naruto the very next day was called to the Hokage's office. The man was in a wheelchair, and was not looking happy about something. "You know something, Naruto, the way you were treated, and how the villagers treated you should have made me more aware how could supposed innocent people behave in dishonorable ways, when they have a motive or enough greed." Naruto quickly told him not to call him that name. "Oh, alright, Death. I see that I am too old to lead this village, and I want to ask you for a favor." Naruto put his foot down and he said that under no circumstance he would even consider taking that job. Hiruzen looked even more sad to hear him say that. "Look, I know that. What I want is for you and one of my students to find the only other student I have, that will not harm Konoha." Naruto looked at him and was trying to figure why he would even ask him. This student could have gone with anyone, why ask him? "He is your godfather. And since I told him you were alive, he has been constantly bugging me about being able to spend some time with you." Naruto asked for a description and the last known location she was last seen at. He simply told him that if his godfather was the infamous Jiraiya then he could find this Tsunade a whole lot faster, without the drunken perv slowing him down. "Please, as a favor for me, try to find my student with your godfather." He looked at the man with a cold glare. "My godfather is named Riptide, and he has been dead for over 10 years. You will not succeed in your scheme, old man. But I did promise to help you. So I will go, but so help me, if I catch him peeping at my mate, he will have to learn Braille, because I will rip his rotten eyes out, clear?" Hiruzen understood why he was so very protective of Kurenai. Naruto loved her, and would always want people to respect her. Maybe she was the way to get Naruto to rejoin the village. In short amount of time, he improved relations with Suna, exposed Danzo, and most of the root have either become regular ninja, or joined ANBU. Naruto went to the obvious place the stinking perv would be, the place where he would be able to keep hidden and still be able to look into the women's bathhouse. He saw the man watching a group of women. "Hey, stop disturbing those ladies, and let's go. We have a lot of ground to cover and little time." Jiraiya told him that he was busy with his research, not that a BRT like him would understand. Naruto was not going to let those comments go without some sort of punishment. Then he remembered that Anko had let him sign the snake contract, so he summoned one of his new summons. The snake was a very tough-looking lady snake, the one he first summoned when Anko showed him how to summon. "Kisa, I need you to scare the perv, so we can get on with our mission. Could you please help me with that?" "Of course, Death. I would be honored to punish the perv. Just wait a few minutes, for the women in the bathhouse to finish beating on him." Naruto watched as Kisa scared him so badly that he fell into the women's side, and just as Kisa said, the women beat him to an inch of his life. Kisa was the eldest daughter of the snake boss, so no wonder she could strike some fear into the perv. "Do you have any idea who I am?" Jiraiya asked as he stood up and looked at him. "From what I heard, a drunken perv. That likes to write smut." Jiraiya began his ridiculous little dance, and called himself the Honorable Toad Sage. Then he decided to tell him that he was wrong, that he was not a perv, but a super perv. He turned to Kisa, and asked her if she wanted to eat him whole. She told him that she did not want something as rotten as him in her stomach, for the next couple of months. Kisa disappeared. You are also supposed to be my uncaring, heartless, and generally slacker of a godfather. Look, we have wasted enough time, we have to find Tsunade, and I want to get this over quickly. I have better things to do than spend my free time with the man that abandoned his duty to me since I was old enough to think. Jiraiya asked him if they wanted to learn a few of his father's techniques as the two left the village gates. You mean the Rasengan and the Flight of the Thunder God? Jiraiya was surprised that he knew of them already. Yes, I can teach you the Rasengan. Naruto looked at him and told him if he was going to talk nonsense, at the very least walk while he did it. But the Rasengan is really hard to learn, and it is really useful. Naruto was sick of his constant telling him that, and with very little effort he made a Rasengan appear in both hands. You mean this thing? Now if you don't mind, I need to find that lady called Tsunade. You are supposed to be a spy Mstr, why not try and be useful? They both decided to follow his newest report. There was a massive poker tournament in a village a few days from there. Tsunade was definitely going to be there. Little did he know that convincing her would take a lot more effort than what he first figured. But there was something that was clear: failure was not an option. When they finally arrived at the town, where the poker tournament was going to be held, Jiraiya had to ask Naruto how in the world was he going to get even close to her. He took out his wallet, and it had enough money to enter the tournament. Then he switched his cloak to a nice civilian form and walked to the casino. When he got there he paid the entry fee, and the fee for the casino to transfer all his winnings to a temporary account, in a local bank. He was escorted to the nearby table, and waited for the tournament to begin, and touching his wrist he set his visor to be able to see the cards. The first part of the tournament proved to be rather boring, since he had to lose one or two hands to make it look like he was not cheating. By the end of the first round he made enough to pass to the second round, and for him to more than make up for all the fees. The second round was pretty much the same as the previous round, except that the amount that they were betting increased. Again, thanks to his visor he won 90% of all bets, and now tripled the amount he paid as fees. He made it to the quarter-finals, and as before the bet amount increased once again. And once again he won 90% of all bets. Semi-finals was now reduced to 10 people. One of those people was a blonde, with a tattoo on her forehead, showing more melons than some of the waitresses in the casino. She had to be the pervert's old teammate. Naruto won only 87% of the bets, and had enough money to start his own vacation resort. But he had plans for this money and it was not going to be a very good investment. Much to his dislike, but he had promised to help Hiruzen with his, so he was honor-bound to do this. The finals were 2 men and 3 women, one of them being Tsunade. The finals were watched by a lot of people, many who Naruto finished fleecing them of their money. They had looks that said quite plainly that they wanted Naruto to lose everything. In the final bet he placed everything he had, and so did Tsunade, and she lost. He invited her over to talk more privately, and she accepted. Something about that did not sit well with Naruto. Alright, Jiraiya, drop the henge, and at least have the decency of talking to me without the disguise. Naruto looked particularly insulted by being told that. I am not wearing any disguise or using a transformation jutsu. But if you really want to talk to that drunken perv. I think he is at a local BRTHL, disappointing the prostitutes and letting them make some easy money off him. Tsunade laughed at that comment. So I gather you are no fan of his? Naruto smiled, and simply told her that his clan did not raise a perv. So what do you want to talk to me about? Tsunade looked at him and told him she was deep in debt. She was hoping to get a low-interest loan, to pay those debts off. I have one better for you. How about we make a bet? If I win you come with me to see your old teacher, if I lose you keep the money I made in the poker tournament, except the amount of the fees I paid. She liked the sound of that. What do I have to do to win? Naruto looked at her, and told her she had to beat him in a fight, and he had to do the same. It didn't take her a second to agree to it, so they decided to take this little dance out into the streets. She pointed one finger at him, this is the only thing I will need to beat you. Jiraiya walked to where the two were fighting. She tried to flick him on his forehead, and knock him out, but she stopped dead on her tracks. when she looked at his hand. No way, how can you use the rasengan? She knew that she needed to take it seriously as he slammed the rasengan on the ground, making a small crater. Why would he do that? All this dust and she will catch him unawares. Jiraiya was confused on the tactics Naruto was using. But then he saw him throw kunai at Tsunade. She of course defected every single one. Jiraiya picked up one of the kunai that landed close to him. No way, Naruto did the hand signs and every kunai began to glow and he did the technique the fourth Hokage was well known for. Flight of the Thunder God. When Tsunade saw him use the technique he was behind her with a kunai pointing at where her heart would be. You underestimated me, and you lose. Like I would fall for something so obvious. She hit him on his forehead, but a puff of smoke appeared where her opponent was. There is no way that was a shadow clone. She began to look for the real one, and she was surrounded by 20 shadow clones, or at least that's what it looked like. They each did the technique again and this time the electrical charge followed the path of the clones. In less than 10 seconds she was shocked and knocked unconscious. Are you insane? You could have killed her using something like that. Jiraiya walked where Tsunade was. Feeling her neck, he was happy to find a pulse. They both decided to call the black-haired young lady, that was hiding while holding a little pig in her arms. We are taking her to our hotel, you are welcome to follow. She nodded her head and did follow them. A few hours later Tsunade woke up with a hangover, and the feeling that she had lost. Why did I lose to some BRT? Naruto looked at her, and smiled, you drank too much for your own good. That stuff does horrible things to your senses. Tsunade told him that she needed to drink to forget the horrible things that happened to her, and especially in the place her lover and brother loved so much. That is an excuse, and a poor excuse at that. You are simply committing suicide, very slowly but suicide nevertheless. What the hell do you know about pain or wanting to end that pain? You are just a punk, a rude punk at that. Naruto simply walked over to her bed and sat down. Well, you tell me, cousin. How much pain do you think I endured when my only relative ran away from reality by drinking herself like you have? This made Tsunade start crying. Don't you dare call me that BRT. My only cousin is dead, he was the son of the fourth Hokage, and Kushina, how dare you call me something only he had right to call me. Do you remember the techniques I used? That was the Rasengan and the Flight of the Thunder God. How do you figure I can even do those techniques? Boy, Kurama, you win the bet. I guess no more ramen for a month. She is even more stubborn than I am. Tsunade got up and began to look at him. Are you really Naruto? Naruto switched off his cloak and placed his normal civilian mode on. I really don't like that name, but yes, that is me. I have felt more pain than you can imagine, since you decided to abandon me, in that hell that you and other call Konoha. Till I was 6 years old there was not a single day that I did not wish my life would end. Hope that answers your questions, cousin. She needed a drink, and decided to walk out of the room, and into the hotel bar. Barkeep, coffee, black, no sugar. Orochimaru decided to drop his henge. What, Tsunade, drinking something without alcohol? I think it is going to rain today. Tsunade just asked him what he wanted. He told her that he simply wanted to make sure she was not returning to the village. They wanted to make her the next Hokage after all. Well, sorry, Orochimaru, I made a bet and lost, so I have to go and meet with our old teacher. So the old fossil is still alive. I shouldn't have trusted Danzo to do the job, but I had few options. Naruto walked to the bar from his hiding place and smiled. Boy, you change bodies as much as some people change clothes. Be sure not to get gender confused, Orochimaru. Orochimaru looked at him with a rather angry glare. Well, if it isn't the punk who stole my ability to summon my snakes. Naruto simply said that he was not treating them right, and they were much happier with him. A summoned beast is a tool, why would I care what a tool feels? Naruto this time glared at him. And that is why the boss hates your guts, and why they are happier with me. 'Cause I care what the Snake Clan feels. Tsunade had to agree with him, she too held the same belief and treated the slugs as her best friends. Orochimaru, I am having a very good time with my long-lost relative. So I feel generous, if you leave now and don't come after us. I will let you live. For now. But if I see you again, your head will be my next trophy. Orochimaru simply began to laugh like a maniac, and whispered that then he would treasure their next meeting. He left in a puff of smoke, the shadow clone dispelled. Do you mind telling me how you been, cousin? Was the time they spent telling each other how their lives had been. It was a time of getting to know each other, of offering support, and in some cases advice. Naruto told her that his clan did not drink poisons without due cause, when she asked him what would be legitimate reasons for it. To dull the pain before a difficult and painful surgery. This made her want to ask him, how much of medicine he actually knew. He simply told her that if she became Hokage, he would share with her all his medical knowledge. Jiraiya finally showed up to see the two getting along rather well. Well, looks like the perv is back. How about we leave town, and get to Konoha? I think you will want to meet my mate. Just as an incentive, you will be very surprised who is my mate. The group left, and he collected his winnings. The casino was going to have to do a lot of business to recover, but that was how their business always was. The situations where a client won were rare, but they did happen. Do you expect Orochimaru will try and kill us? Tsunade asked Naruto, and he simply told her that he was more than welcome to try. There was very little his eyes could not see. This prompted to ask him what he meant. As he used his hunter camouflage, his eyes were clearly visible behind his mask. Once she saw the clear eyes that her cousin had, she understood exactly what he was talking about. Personally, I do hope he does attack. I could always use some nice trophies. He and Kabuto would be very nice trophies indeed. Little did he know that Orochimaru was going to attack, as soon as they reached a nice forested area. His new contract needed the space to do their thing. Since Naruto signed the snake contract, and erased his entry, Orochimaru had to find a new contract, and he did, although he did not like how Kabuto told him that his contract fit him like a glove. Apparently he had signed the bear contract. Kabuto was pretty much forced to sign the same contract after the glove comment. There was a saying that people should be careful what they wished for. Too bad for Orochimaru and Kabuto, they never listened. As soon as Tsunade, Naruto, and Jiraiya were in an open field, Orochimaru appeared riding what seemed to be a massive bear. Kabuto was a little under the weather, or he was wearing some very convincing green face paint. So nice to see you, Orochimaru, and Pawn. I do hope you are here to attack us. 'Cause I would really love to end you right here, and now. For the first time since they first met, Orochimaru actually did something that nobody expected. Why do you hate me so much? We both know Konoha is a waste of space, and there is not an intelligent person to be found there. They had the Jinchuriki of the mighty Kyubi no Kitsune, and they treated the poor kid so badly, that they pushed him to suicide. I would think you of all people would be grateful that I am trying to wipe it off the planet. I am doing you a favor, and all I get is hostility from you. So why do you hate me so much? Naruto stepped forward and simply smiled. I don't hate you, Orochimaru. I could care less about what your goals are. I simply think that you are very good prey, and as a hunter I simply could not pass us the chance at trying to kill you. I even have the right spot to place your skull at. Trust me when I say it will be my kill of the decade. Kabuto, not so much. I really don't like cowardly weak prey, but you. I will simply love to rip your head off, and polish your skull to a mirror shine. And people call me sick. How can you stand his company, Tsunade? Tsunade stepped behind him. Having to be in the same squad with the perv and you was even worse. Jiraiya was about to argue that he was no perv, but Naruto put a stop to it. You steal bodies to stay young and extend your life, and you call me a freak? Let's see what an old acquaintance of yours thinks about you. He cut his own hand, and summoned something to where he was standing. To everyone's surprise it was Manda, who for once in his life he was very happy with his new summoner. Manda, sorry to bother you, but I could really use your help with a bear. I figured that you would like to have a little fun. Manda was smiling, don't worry, I am always glad to help such a thoughtful summoner. But you might want to think about my offer of studying our sage arts, if that puny bear is giving you trouble. Orochimaru was furious of what he had just heard, he went through several kinds of hell to get them to teach him their safe arts. Now this guy had not only not have to pay to summon Manda, but the snake boss was actually happy to be summoned by him, and even offered him the gift of learning the sage arts. Manda, how low can you go, to be willing to help a lowly punk, instead of me? Manda looked at his with a lot of killer intent. Because he treats us with the proper respect, and we are happy to have a summoner that honors us with his deeds, and not just fails at everything he does, like you. Well Manda, I have something to apologize for, you will more than likely meet Gamabunta in this instance unless we take care of the Pefli and his current love toy. Manda Simple said that then they shouldn't waste time, they could always chat later. When Orochimaru heard the Pefli comment, he really got angry. I am no Pefli, BRT. Naruto evaded his punch, Kabuto's silence says otherwise. Jiraiya was too busy dealing with his hangover, to do anything, and Tsunade was too busy laughing at how her cousin got under Orochimaru's skin and managed to PSS him off so easily. That cousin of mine, sure knows his stuff. I will ask him why he isn't a ninja of Konoha later. But first I am enjoying the show. Shizun couldn't understand why she was so relaxed, these were two high-ranking rogue ninja against one. Naruto took his sword out and with the use of some of Kurama's chakra the blade glowed red, almost like it was on fire. Kabuto tried to attack him from behind but he simply slashed from behind really quickly, and cut off both his arms and legs. Sit there and be quiet, I will deal with you after I am done with your so-called lover. Kabuto told him that he did not love Orochimaru, he was doing his job. Orochimaru tried to sneak behind him, and attack him while he was talking with Kabuto. With the same move, he chopped his hand off. Didn't anyone teach you it is rude to interrupt a conversation? Orochimaru tried to use his other hand, and when he lost that too, he tried to use his new summons to help him. Naruto finished the bears of in a quick and brutal series of attacks. Look, how about I leave, and you forgive me for trying to kill you or Tsunade? He took his sword and it was clear that he was not going to let him do that. Orochimaru then tried to run away, taking his large shuriken, he threw it at him, missing me, do you even know how to throw that thing? Naruto's only replay was to look behind him, and that was then the real weapon appeared and it was a disc, that looked really sharp, but he did not have time to wonder about it, since it cut his head off, cleanly and extremely quickly. He walked over to pick up the head and sealed it in a scroll, after making sure to properly store it for a future trophy. So Kabuto, mind telling me about this job, if you are done regrowing your legs and arms? Kabuto looked at him, and told him he was done regrowing his limbs, but what he wanted to know about his job. Naruto hit him on the head, and told him to quit stalling and tell him about his mission. Kabuto's only replay was that Danzo would have him killed if he did that. So that's all. Danzo is already dead, so quit stalling and tell me what the backstabber asked you to do. Kabuto needed proof and touching his arm, a holographic display appeared, and showed him the exact way Danzo met his end, even he found the way he was killed to be rather cruel. He ordered me to pretend to join Orochimaru and see how much of his research I could actually steal from him. That is why I had to become his assistant and had to stand at BSTRDS advances. So what now? Naruto turned around and looked at Tsunade, that is for the next Hokage to decide. Tsunade stepped really close to him, and looked at him directly to his eyes, do you promise never to betray Konoha, or the Hokage? Kabuto told her that he was always loyal to Konoha, he simply was doing what Danzo told him, since he assured him it was for the benefit of the village. Well, in that case, go and wait for me in office of Hiruzen Sarutobi. Tell him I decided to welcome you back to the village. Kabuto left, with such a big smile on his face, that made Naruto wonder if he was really honest. His actions would tell if he was or he was faking. Now, we just need to get to Konoha, for you to take your official job, and I can be free of this stinking perv. Tsunade could not help smiling as he shouted right next to Jiraiya. DMN it, BRT don't shout. I have the worst headache I ever felt. Naruto walked over to Tsunade and told her that this was another example, as to why drinking too much only caused pain. Shizune nodded her head in complete agreement, and so did the pig for that matter. Naruto, ever consider teaching at the academy? This made Naruto glare at her. I will say this once, so please remember it. I will help you as the next Hokage, but I will never, ever be part of that stinking hell hole that you call Konoha. As they walked, Shizune asked him why he hated the village so much, and so he began to answer her question, in an extremely detailed and graphic way. He told her of everything he had endured, what his life was before he was rescued by his brother, what people did to him from the moment he had a few days after his BRTH. The list went on, and with each example Shizune began to understand why he hated the village. By the time they reached the village, he was done giving him his little lecture, and everyone in the group could hardly believe that such horrors happened, in a place the victim's own father died to protect. It was the middle of the night, and so he invited her over to stay at his home. It was the perfect chance to introduce her to his mate. So tell me, Naruto, is there anything? Did you ever find anything good in the village? He simply said that he had found a few things, but the very best was waiting for him at their home. He opened the door only to be grabbed by someone in a rather passionate kiss and hug. Kurenai, we have guests. He looked behind her mate, to see Tsunade and Shizune still holding the small pink pig. So this is your mate. I can see how much you two love each other. It makes me feel envious, to tell the truth. Ah, to be young and in love, that was the best part of my life. This made Kurenai welcome their guests into their home. So who would have guessed that Ice Queen of Konoha would fall in love with my cousin? But we can talk about the romantic stuff later. How about that medical knowledge you said you would share with me? Naruto looked at her and he began to take a piece of paper and wrote a very complex formula. Only Tsunade seemed to understand what she was looking at. So what exactly does this formula cure? Shizune asked. Nothing much, just about any sort of virus infection ever known to my clan. You could almost hear a fly flapping its wings, that's how silent the room was. So let me get this straight, if a person has say HPTTS, you're telling me that they take 2 of these pills and the person would be cured in a few days? Naruto corrected her. No, what I am saying is take 1 and kiss getting that disease goodbye, forever. This pills cures the disease by making the body develop antibodies to it at an incredible rate. So 1 pill, and 1 day later, you can kiss that disease goodbye, for the rest of your life. Tsunade asked about bacterial infections and parasites. He simply told her there were formula for those too. But he was not going to share anything else, till she took the big hat off the old man, and became Hokage. When she did, he would share all the formula, and make this the most healthy village ever, at least physically healthy. He had no cure for insanity. Tsunade, Kurenai stayed in a single room, and Naruto slept alone. They spent to the early hours of the morning hearing how happy she was with her mate, and how much they were looking forward to one day being parents. Whatever made you fall in love with him? Shizune finally was able to ask. He respects me, cooperates with me, helps me with the training of my team, or back in our home, is the most tender person with me, and the best lover I ever had. I hope one day he is also the best father to our kids. Shizune secretly wished that she found someone like that for herself. For all the things he ever had to put up with, having to spend time with his drunken perv godfather, was a test in patience. Half the time he simply wanted to kill the BSTRDS and be done with it. On the other side, he was probably the worst prey he had ever seen. Hai simply asked the Hokage to keep him as far away from him as possible, or he might be attending his student's funeral. Hiruzen did not understand why the hostility towards Jiraiya, so he asked Naruto all about it. He did not even blink when he said that his clan would never allow a perv like him last to old age. He would die, and die painfully. The women of our clan are the most valuable members, so to protect their honor, we would not hesitate to kill those that dishonor them. A female has the right to enjoy some private time while bathing. It is up to her if she wishes for a male to join her, but always it is her decision. Hiruzen had a question that he would later regret asking. What happens to those that try to RPE a lady of your clan? Naruto told him while the females were very much defended, that did not mean that they were defenseless. A female was several times stronger than a male, they would have to be. After all, they are the ones to show the young how to survive. If there was such a foolish male, she would no doubt rip him apart with her own hands, and throw him into an incinerator. She would do the same for garbage. Why not the fool that tried to do something like that? I know that you and Kurenai are in a very committed relationship, but would you ever consider taking another lady as a second wife? Naruto was clearly upset by the question. By the laws and traditions of my clan, such a thing would be to dishonor my mate, and such would be a death sentence for me. But beyond that, I will never be unfaithful to my mate, I love her too much to do that. Tsunade entered the room from a side door. Well, at the very least I know how lucky Kurenai really is. I am here to take that hat, teacher. Hiruzen told her that he happily passed the position to her, but there was going to need to be an actual ceremony to name her the next Hokage. Well, since I finish your little favor, I guess I really am not needed here. Naruto began to walk towards the door. He looked like any normal civilian, but they both knew how powerful he really was. Death, why don't you remind us? Why won't you join this village? You are willing to do the village a few favors, even aid it, so why? Tsunade looked at him, almost like she needed to know. Would you be part of a village that wanted you dead, for simply breathing? I did not help this place, I helped an honorable man by the name of Hiruzen Sarutobi. I will never join this village, since they never wanted me to begin with. Hiruzen, for the first time since the death of his wife, had tears on his face, and he simply could not stop them. He saw the son of the fourth Hokage walk out of what used to be his office. When the door finally slammed shut, he looked at the ceiling. Tsunade, it is no secret that I loved Minato, like the child we could never had, and for me to listen to my grandson say such things makes me miserable beyond measure. He really thinks that no one in this village ever wanted him. Tsunade looked at her teacher, and with a serious look on her face, I think that is the reason he lives with Kurenai outside the village walls. To stay away from people that mistreat him, and to keep the only person who openly loved him safe. I believed Kurenai was lucky, but now I know that she is really lucky. She was the only one to recognize the jewel that everyone else called trash. Naruto went to train with the serpents, and Manda was very happy to teach him all about being a sage. The serpents really liked Naruto. They spent time talking and playing together when Naruto was not training with Manda. He was often heard asking his wife, how in the world did he ever allow Orochimaru to sign the contract? He couldn't be happier with their newest summoner. She simply told her husband that the Pefli was not worth his time thinking about. Anko was the only good thing that Pefli ever did for their clan. Kurenai welcomed him back after a few weeks that he had gone missing. She asked him where he was, and he told her he was off learning to be a sage. Tsunade just had to ask how long it took him to learn to be a sage. When he told her 2 weeks, that made her drop her teacup. Are you kidding me? 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, it took me 2 months. Just how was the training? I want every detail. Naruto, not wanting to be rude to his summons, he simply had to summon Manda's eldest daughter. She actually had been present during his training. He asked her to tell his cousin about the training he had to do. The serpent was happy to see Naruto, so she did tell her, but she told Tsunade with every single, horrible and painful detail. Being a sage was not something to be taken as a mere skill. It was to learn everything about a clan's abilities and traditions, to practically be a member of the clan. Naruto learned the pains and troubles the serpent endured as they grew up. He had to learn to detach his emotions, and look at the world with cold logic, and he had to learn to show no mercy to those that threatened him. The last part was the easiest of the training, but the training would make some wish they could die, so what advantages does a snake sage have? Naruto simply said that he could heal any injury, was immune to all poisons, and he could dominate and even control the minds of others. In battle there was nothing more scary than the cold precision of a snake sage. They could calculate the trajectory of any thrown weapon and deduce an enemy's plan of attack. He simply entered sage mode and they saw his eyes, and they knew that they did not want him as an enemy. Kurenai asked him please end his sage mode, because it really was sending shivers down her back. He thanked the serpent and asked her to send greetings on his behalf to her father and mother. He also thanked them for their hospitality. The serpent smiled and wrapped itself around Naruto, and gave him a small kiss on the cheek before returning back to her realm. Those serpents are rather friendly with you, aren't they? Kurenai did not like the snake giving her mate a kiss, and was jealous. They are kind, once you get to know them. The one that left even calls me her baby brother. You should have seen her mother laugh, when she called me that in front of her and her father. That aside, the ceremony naming me Hokage is tonight, and I would like for you and Kurenai to attend. Naruto looked at her, and this glare was even colder than when he was in sage mode. I have no business attending something that doesn't have anything to do with me. I will help you, Tsunade, but I don't want to be anywhere near your village and especially your ninja. Kurenai reminded him that she was one of said ninja. I know, my love. But these people might try to attack me during the ceremony, and if they do it will turn into a bloodbath, and make the situation more tough on my cousin. I know what I am doing. Couldn't you simply not kill them? I know that your clan has some rather severe traditions, but is forgiveness not an option? Naruto looked at Tsunade, like she just finished asking the most foolish thing in the entire universe. No, they attack me, they die. There is no forgiveness for those that dishonor us. We keep your world relatively safe, and you would dare attack us. If you knew how many times we have kept other alien races from taking over this planet, you would not even dare to ask me such a thing. Tsunade and Kurenai wanted an example of the things that they were kept safe from. Very well, but don't complain later. Naruto touched his wrist and a horrible-looking monster was displayed on the wall. This is a face hugger, and they come from that egg. They force themselves on their victims, hence they are called xenobreeders by our most senior member of my clan. The display changed to a small video of a small monster bursting from the person's chest, then he placed the full-grown xenomorph display on the wall. This is a xenomorph warrior. If there is no other xenomorph around, this will eventually turn into, he touched his wrist again, a xenomorph queen. The queen is 100 times more deadly than the warrior and can lay 10,000 eggs per month. If we had not stopped these things, they would be the only form of life on this planet, within 1 to 2 years, and before you say that you could stop them with your weapons, know that their BLD is pure acid. He turned off his cloaking system and he pointed at the small symbol on the right side of his forehead. This is the symbol of the ones who have killed a Xena queen, and lived to tell about it. I know how dangerous these things are, and they are not the worst that we have kept your planet safe from. He turned his cloak back to civilian mode. Kurenai knew that there was more to this. He was furious when he was looking at the xenomorph warrior. There is more to tell, isn't there? The way you looked at the one you called a xenomorph warrior, you almost looked like you saw someone you hated immensely. Naruto knew that he could not keep things hidden from his mate. Nightclaw had a sister, Star Shade, and she was the very first person I ever consider as my first love. She was killed by the Xenomorph warriors, of the queen I killed. And my clan wonders why I killed so many warriors to get my chance to kill the fatso they called their queen. He began to give her a few scrolls and Tsunade looked surprised. Kurenai helped me learn your language. I think you will like those. They have the formula for the other pills I told you about. I always keep my word. Hearing that, she opened the scrolls and was amazed how neat his writing was, and what was written on the scrolls. This knowledge would not only save countless lives, but also cure some of the current ninja, that were too frivolous with their carnal desires. With this, your job of being Hokage should be a lot easier, cousin. Kurenai asked if they would ever learn how to make the metal his weapons were made from, or even how to make the weapons. Naruto was quite clear that he would never share that knowledge, not even if it cost him his life. The clan knew what would happen if they knew how to make weapons that were too advanced for them to have. They had seen worlds destroy themselves when a foolish alien told them knowledge like that. We keep this, our most sacred hunting ground, safe, and that also includes not exposing it to possible dangers. You want better weapons, then you will have to develop them on your own. Tsunade knew that he must have a reason to do this. There was no way a person as honorable as her cousin would do this simply out of being selfish or because he hated the village. She asked them if he could ask Naruto one final question. Do you hate this village, cousin? Naruto looked at her as she was about to leave. I do not, it is they who hate me, they always have and more than likely always will. Naruto was having a rather nice day, he managed to kill quite a nice buck and was cleaning his trophy, he knew it would make for a good dinner. Kurenai was attending the ceremony to name Tsunade Senju as the next Hokage, and she was not happy to see that her cousin was true to his words. He did not show up and she knew why. After being named Hokage, she asked the people present if the container of the Kyubi no Kitsune lived in the village, what would they do? Some looked at her as if she was asking something that sounded like she was crazy. Finally one of the ninja answered the question. Kill him, I would definitely kill him. The death of our beloved fourth Hokage must be avenged. There were some others who cheered after hearing this person's response. Tsunade knew then that her cousin was right, and that his judgment of the possible actions of the villagers was dead on. He thanked the man for his honest opinion. Tsunade looked at Kurenai, who was glaring at said man, and walking over to her, she told her that she needed to have a word with her, in private. With the ceremony over, she left the villagers and ninja to celebrate in their party. Tsunade walked towards her office with Kurenai. When the door was slammed shut, she sat down on her chair and Kurenai stood in front of the desk she has seen so many times. I know why you are angry, and I know that you hoped that death was wrong. But as you see, he was right. I really need to thank my cousin for being so considerate. Kurenai sat down and she was in tears. I haven't told him, and I haven't told my team either. But I am pregnant with our first child. I don't know how, I am always taking my BRTHCNTRL pills. But my last MNSTRLCYCL did not happen. I wanted him to live in the village, because I might need a doctor during my PRGNNCY. Tsunade did not need to hear anything else, and she simply walked over to the crying woman. Her hand began to glow green and she touched the woman's stomach. After a few minutes she knew that Kurenai was right. You are 2 weeks pregnant, and yes, I do see why you would need a doctor. Don't worry, Shizune is a capable medic. She will provide you with the aid you require. Tsunade looked at the crying Kunoichi and smiled. You are going to have a child with the man you love, why are you so sad? Kurenai simply told her that she did not know, but something made her feel that way. Tsunade knew why, her PRGNNCY was causing her to have mood swings. Any other discomforts I should know about? Kurenai mentioned that sometimes even looking at food caused some of the worst nausea she ever had in her life. Well, that is to be expected. You will feel like that for a few months, your body is getting used to the new guest. I will give you a few pills and vitamins to help with that. But when will you tell my cousin that he is going to be a father? Kurenai simply replied that she would when he returned from his current hunt. Naruto was preparing the buck to take back home, who knew fire jutsu were so useful, he had prepared the buck and with the jutsu he had cooked the buck in a matter of seconds. He tasted it and it was a nice flavor. He used his wrist blades to cut the now cooked buck into manageable pieces, when his wrist computer began to make noises that he knew were a warning, that a ship was inbound and would land in a few minutes. I know I don't ask for much, oh great benevolent huntress, but why can't I enjoy a simply hunt and dinner without this happening? Wolf turned off his cloak and he told him he wondered the same thing himself. Def, your computer needs some maintenance. I've been here since you cooked that buck. Come one, let me take a look at it, while I tell you what our elder has decided to send us to do. He gave him his computer and Wolf told him that a space station hidden in the asteroid belt had fallen to Xenomorph infestation. Wolf looked at his brother's computer and began to clean, and install new software upgrades. So the elder wants both of us to kill them. Why not send someone else? Wolf looked at him and told him that he did send someone else, but they too fell and were probably at the breeding chamber. So you are telling me some of our clan are now prey to their breeders, and would more than likely be facing Xenopredators on this station? Naruto asked Wolf to take a look at his weapons to see if they needed to be upgraded as well, and as fate would have it, they did. Let's board my new ship and I can give you the new weapons we developed since you were gone. Also, aren't you going to congratulate me? You haven't even asked about your nephew? Naruto told him that he could tell him all about his nephew on the way. It would take a few hours for them to reach the space station anyways. On the ship, Naruto noticed that the plasma cannon has a significant increase in over damage and rapid fire. The discs were smaller and much sharper, and the armor was lighter but stronger. The wrist computer was no bigger than a shuriken and now took voice commands. The thing that made him almost fall on his rear was the wrist blades. They were gone, and when he asked Wolf where the wrist blades were, he extended his wrist laser blades. This makes cutting a lot faster, and acid doesn't affect them. Perfect for xenomorph hunting. So tell me, brother, how is fatherhood treating you? Naruto was clearly asking since he complained about not asking about his nephew. It is by far the most rewarding feeling I ever had, and the one that causes me constant worry and dread. I can't imagine my life without my son, or my mate. If someone even tries to flirt with Nightclaw, I want to rip the BSTRD's head off, and I was close to doing that several times, had my mate not stopped me. Naruto was listening to his brother tell him stories about his time as a father, but also checking the scans of the space station. From what I read, this station is built like a tower. I am guessing the queen is in the middle of it, surrounded by a few thousand warriors, and the chamber must be jam-packed with eggs. Depending on how long since the infestation began. I think I will surprise you. I found some things on the Omen world that would really surprise you. You mean besides the fact that you have an appealing Omen as your mate? Have you even had our traditional ceremony yet? How can you keep your mate waiting like that? If it was Nightclaw, she would drag you to the shaman by your neck, and you know it. So quite stalling and do the ceremony. Naruto reminded him that there was no shaman on the Omen world. Wolf kept repeating the same word over and over again. Excuses, excuses. When they arrived and they docked onto the station, the two were ready to see a few hundred xenomorph warriors as a welcome party. But not a single one showed up. Naruto decided to see what his visor told him. There were 300 xenomorph warriors and one queen. So Naruto made 500 shadow clones and told Wolf that they could continue talking about his nephew and give him some more parenting tips. The shadow clones did a number on the warriors and even managed to destroy all the eggs with fire jutsu. He simply got back the memories, as Wolf told him about his mate's horrible mood swings. Well, looks like we were both wrong, the queen is on the bottom. Shall we go and introduce ourselves to Her Majesty, or we can continue talking about what will make this seem like a walk in the park? Wolf continued to tell him horror stories about the PRGNNCY. The littered halls and walls displayed the sheer violence the fighting has been. So since you are so interested in parenting, when are you going to give me a little nephew? Wolf clearly messing with him. You know that is not up to me. Would you like to meet my mate after this? Wolf was really happy to hear that. I would love to meet the female that finally made you settle down. So would Nightclaw for that matter. Naruto told him to get him a shaman and he might do that. Wolf was laughing his head off as they walked into the chamber of the xenomorph queen. Either this queen is young, or they actually listen to your words about weight management. I don't know which is worse. The xenomorph queen was a lot slender and flexible than his last xenomorph queen. Naruto was getting the sheer impression that this queen was actually happy to meet them. What gives you that idea, the fact that she is smiling in a way that I feel a shiver down my back, or the fact that she is not jumping to rip our heads off? Oh hell, this is a Xenopredator that finally became a queen. No wonder that thing looks different. The predator was clearly a female. But why were the warriors only normal warriors? I expected them to be Xenopredators like we have been expecting. The Xenoqueen began to laugh. It's because this is not my nest. I took it over a few days ago, and had these clumsy warriors as company. The ship is wrecked beyond fixing. I am so lucky. After I do away with both of you, I will have a way off this boring space station. Now Wolf, let me show you my new skill. He began to change, his body began to be covered in scales, and his eyes changes to those of a viper. His speed became too fast for Wolf to track down with his visor. His mind was clear, and could see every move the Xena Queen at least a few minutes before she did. The precision of his attacks were frightening. He used his speed to jump up in the air so high, it even surprised the Xena Queen. He came down and hit the Xena Queen on her abdomen and went to where Wolf was standing. "Is that it?" Naruto told him that indeed that was it, and he snapped his fingers and the ball drew the Xenomorph into itself, almost like a miniature black hole. The Xenomorph was screaming in agony as she was pulled into the ball. When the ball was done, the Xena Queen's body had been reduced to a small ball of flesh no bigger than a lemon. I know that it still needs work, but I think it was pretty good for a test phase version. As the scales and the change of appearance, I am a sage. Specifically a snake sage. I will tell you all about my training on our trip back. I do need to get back to my mate. You want to meet her, don't you? Wolf walked along Naruto, only complaining that they could not take any worthy trophies. Naruto told him that there would always be next time. Back in Naruto's home, Kurenai was rehearsing several times what she would tell her beloved. She was afraid that he would not take the news well. Enko called her insane several times. It was clear her husband loved her, so he would love any child born from her. Yugugo was simply amazed at how spacious their home was. It looked so small from the outside, but inside it would put the fire daimyo's palace to shame. I wondered where the most talked about husband of our friend is. Kurenai explained that her husband had left her a message telling him that he was off hunting with his brother, and that they would be back in a few days. That did not make any sense. Yugugo was an elite ANBU, and from what she researched about Naruto Uzumaki, he was an orphan. How could he have any siblings, and where had they been during those first years of his life? Naruto and Wolf began to walk towards his home as soon as they landed. I have to finally meet the female that made my ever unattainable brother settle down. If it wasn't for her, you might have ended marrying my mate. She really did me a major favor when she got her claws into you. Naruto looked at him and told him that Wolf should be a comedian, he was simply too funny. As the two stepped in, they were shocked to see Naruto with a big, muscular-looking monster. Naruto had to stop Kurenai and her guest from even thinking of attacking him. He screamed that the person with him was his brother. This stopped their minds from even thinking about attacking him. Wolf, the lady with the lovely red eyes, is my mate, Kurenai. Kurenai, this is my big brother Wolf. Wolf, switching his translator on, told her that he was very happy to meet the female that finally made his brother settle down. Naruto offered him some traditional BLD tea and Wolf was happy to take him up on the offer. The women in the room stared at the two enjoy a cup of the most disgusting-looking tea they had ever seen. I guess he was not kidding about BLD cooking recipes in your clan. Wolf put down his cup. It's mother's recipes, actually. I keep telling you, Death, you boil the BLD for too long, it makes the red BLD cells lose its chewy texture. It is clear that cooking is not done by you. Wolf began to tell his mate the most embarrassing stories about his childhood, and Enko and Yugugo were laughing really hard at Naruto's discomfort. Well, I have some news to tell my beloved. I wanted to tell you when we were alone, but with people I will feel less worried about it. Naruto clearly felt like there was going to be some bad news. I went to the Hokage for a medical checkup. I've been feeling rather under the weather lately, and have been feeling nauseous for some time. So the Hokage told me the cause after her examination. Wolf knew where this was going. I was told that since I missed my last MNSTRLCYCL, that I am PRGNT with our first child. The standing Naruto got the message that he would be a father, and he responded like many other males, including Wolf, he fainted and to the ground. It was only thanks to Wolf catching him that he did not injure himself. When Naruto woke up, he saw the grin on his brother's face. Hey, Death, you alright? Naruto asked him if he could ask a dumber question than that. Of course he was not alright. Wolf, I had the most horrible nightmare ever. I dreamed that my beloved mate was PRGNT, and we ended up having 4 sons, and they kill each other fighting over what they believed was their inheritance. Only to leave my mate alone, since they killed me, and then each other. I really hope something like that doesn't happen. Wolf was laughing his head off. Well, one part is true, your maid is PRGNT and she is wondering how long are you going to stay on the floor like that. Kurenai looked rather upset. I never pictured the day I told my beloved husband, that we were going to be blessed with a child, and he would act like I just told him it was the end of life as we know it. Wolf tried to make this better by telling her that it was the end of life as they know it, they were going to be parents, and that is a major change. He told her he learned that the hard way. So how long till our dear mother shows up? Wolf told him in a day or two she was in another planetary system after all. Well, quit laughing and give me a hand. Wolf decided to do more than that. He picked him up and gave him what seemed a bone-crushing hug. Well, I know Mother and I are very happy to hear that you will finally have a child. I can't wait to see my nephew or niece. Looking at your mate, I know that at least the child will not be ugly, at least if the poor child doesn't end up looking like you. Naruto for the first time in his life really wanted to kick his brother. Wolf, I know you are just messing with me, but that kinda hurts. I just saved you from living our clan's worst nightmare, and you keep me when I am down. If you are this way with me, I wonder how you are with your own children. Wolf laughed and told him that was the reason his mate took care of their young. You do want us to have this child. You know there are ways to stop my PRGNNCY. Naruto got up and took her in his arms in less time it took to blink. I was just startled by the news, it is a major event after all. But by no means I want us to lose this child. This child is the fruit of our love. I want to be there with you, through all the difficult times, sad times and happy moments. I love you, Kurenai, and I also love this child that you carry. Don't even think about stopping this PRGNNCY simply because I was surprised due to the news. Kurenai began to cry and she kissed him. Now there is the sweet husband I missed and love. So my mother-in-law is going to be here in a day or two. Is there anything I should know about? Wolf told her to relax, it was not like she was going to hurt her. He told her she was simply coming to congratulate them and maybe check if they needed anything to help during her PRGNNCY. Wolf told her that she was very experienced in helping other females during their pregnancies. So what do you plan to do now? Wolf looked at Naruto. He began to laugh. Oh, I don't know, maybe I wanted to stay with Yor for a few days. I wouldn't miss the reaction of Mother when she gets here. She is not going to hurt your mate, but that doesn't mean she is not going to be excited over the news. Naruto told him that he could have simply waited to tell her, say after their child was born. And risk having Mother throw me through a wall. Listen, little brother, I am not crazy. I got a mate and child to think about. Well, you are welcome to stay, but BLD dishes are off the menu. I feel nauseous enough without having to look at that stuff. Both Wolf and Naruto looked at each other. She is kidding, right? Naruto could only respond, give him a look that said she was not kidding. We can go hunt some deer, bear, or a few dozen birds. Then I can cook them over the campfire, it will be like old times. So don't worry. Kurenai looked at them both. When I say they are off the menu, I mean they are off the menu. I know enough of his body language to tell what you two brothers are talking about. It's my rules or it's out the door. Welcome to marriage, little brother, the age where you could keep secrets from your mate is over. Naruto looked at Kurenai. Why do you hate my culture so much? I have seen women eat worse stuff than our traditional cuisine. So why do you hate my culture so much? Kurenai stood closer to him and grabbed him to hold him close. I don't, that I simply do not like to see you eating it. It makes you look less human. Kurenai, I am not an omen. If you love me, as I love you, then you must accept the fact that I am very much like my brother. We hold this world sacred, and will protect it to our very last, but know what I am. The reason I hold you so close to me is that I love you. But I will never be part of that village and I will never live as they do. I ask you to think about this, maybe you wish for me to leave and someone else from my clan to take this post. Kurenai almost could not believe that her husband would misunderstand her words. No, I don't want you to go, and I always want to be with you. But you never told me why your clan even eats these BLD dishes. I see it as a barbaric form of getting nourishment. I simply want you to eat healthy food, so that you will live longer by my side. Wolf told her that the reason was a question better to ask their mother. For the first time since they declared their love, Naruto slept in the living room, and she felt the cold that she hadn't felt in so long, and yearned to feel the warmth of her husband. But she might feel it again, if she asked the question that kept bothering her, and if she understood it then maybe she would feel the warmth of her husband again. The very next day Void's pod landed near Naruto's house. She walked towards her children and was greeted in the traditional way. Wolf and Death both dropped to one knee and bowed to her. "Arise, my children. Is it true that my youngest is to be a father?" Wolf told her that it was, but a dispute arose regarding the BLD cuisine of their clan. His brother's mate considered it barbaric and unhealthy. Void walked into the home and marched right to Kurenai. She switched her visor to a medical scan and saw the PRGNNCY was going according to what she expected. "You can relax, son, it's simply that her hormones are irregular due to her PRGNNCY. Trust me, I seen females of our clan do some weird things during the start of their pregnancies. Kurenai, I think we need to talk in private." Void and Kurenai walked over to the bedroom. "Kurenai, the BLD dishes are more than nourishment. It is a ritual of acceptance and honor. By not simply eating the flesh but drinking the BLD, we accept everything about the creature that was killed and thank it for providing us with nourishment. We always give thanks to the source of our nourishment. Be they plants, which we eat the roots as well, to the BLD of the beings we eat. It is a spiritual and personal way to thank the creature for providing us with the substance we need. Naruto has eaten BLD dishes since he could walk and talk. Ever since I became his mother. If they were unhealthy he would have died a long time ago. You might not like them, but my son always honors the prey he kills. Even when it's prey that does not deserve it. Does this answer your questions?" Kurenai could see the pride in the eyes of her mother-in-law's eyes. "Well, they said that you would stay with us for a few months. Is that really necessary? I am not child." Void smiled. No matter the species, females always felt like they know everything. Then the first trimester comes and everything they believed would happen, goes out the proverbial window. It never hurts to learn a few things that you might need. If you know how many of our clan thank me for teaching them what I am going to teach you. It is clear that you wanted a big family. I am sorry that you can't have any more children." Void began to laugh. "No, trust me, with those two I had my hands full. Between my teaching you and monitoring your PRGNNCY, how about I tell you some of the most embarrassing stories about your mate's childhood?" Kurenai smiled when she heard her say that. "Deal, but I want details." Naruto and his brother were expecting something much like a shouting match between their mother and Kurenai, but to their surprise they seemed to get along rather well. "Speaking of children, when do I get to meet my nephew?" Wolf hit his brother on the shoulder. "You know as well as I do. You do not leave the home world till you are ready to begin your trial to be bloodied. I actually would like for both of yous to be with him, when he goes on his first Xenomorph hunt. It is always scary when you meet your first Xenomorph warrior. Well, at least for most. Don't say another word. You know you can count on me, bro." Wolf had to agree with that. No matter how people said they looked different, or that they did not hunt together as much as they did. They always were there for each other, they were brothers after all. "I know, I also know Nightclaw will be very happy to know that she will be an aunt." Naruto had to tell him that was hard to picture. Nightclaw always had a really bad temper. The first month was a little weird, until Kurenai told her to stay in the guest room. It was making her worry that she might have to kill a few idiots from the village if they confused her for some kind of monster. At first she did not want to, but Naruto told her that it would give her time to also catch up with him. That finally sealed the deal. Void moved into the guest room. The food took a little while to get used to. It lacked in spices, it was too bland. Naruto had to remind her about Kurenai's little passenger. Ah, of course she has to watch her diet. I keep forgetting that she is an omen. Kurenai smiled as she sat down with her own plate. And very proud of it. Void and Naruto began to laugh. So any news from the elder? Any contest that I need to be a part of? Void told him that their clan was doing just fine. The elder was very happy to hear about his mate's PRGNNCY and no contest that he was needed. The other member of the clan could deal with that. I had Wolf take your clunker of a ship back to the home world. You really need to get a new one. You should have told me sooner. I just got an upgrade to my field equipment. I don't want to be a burden to my clan. Void got up, took him up in her arms and gave him a hug. Always so considerate. But think nothing of it. It is the very least we can do. After all, you keep our sacred hunting ground safe. So I don't want to hear anything more about it. You have to show me your trophies. I haven't seen them in a while. Sadly, I don't have that many good trophies. This planet is peaceful, compared to our home world. I told Wolf that I will accompany him and my nephew on his first Xenomorph hunt. Void let his sit down and she returned to her own seat. That is what I expect from you. Always so considerate. But you know me. I am always happy to see the trophies my children manage to get. I told the real reason for the BLD in our food. She did not accept it, but at least she understands. Stop being so stubborn and sleep in your own bed again. You will not get many chances after your child is born. Your mate will be very busy. Naruto quietly slipped into his bed, and slept quite peacefully by his mate's side. He knew his mother was right. Once their child was born, she would be too busy to spend more time with him. So he decided to focus on the things he could do and forget the argument and try to understand her more. Their life was going to be more hectic and it would not do to keep arguing in front of their child. When he woke up, he gave her a kiss. She was quite surprised for several reasons. First, she did not feel hit get into the bed. Second, she remembered their argument, and lastly what her mother-in-law told her. You don't take long to listen to your mother, do you? Naruto told her that she knew his mother, only when she was in a good mood. She did not want to see his mother when she was really, really angry. She asked him how bad could it be. He told her in the form of a question. Do the words compound fractures mean anything to you? His mother just had to step in, and looked at them still in bed. She smiled and told Kurenai that only happened one time. Naruto had killed a large reptile and he was just a boy, but he left the corpse without taking back a trophy. He then told her that she got so mad that she threw him through a wall. Well, son, you don't leave a body of a worthy prey without taking a trophy. That is disrespectful. Kurenai asked how old was he and he told her he was 10. What can I say, he either learned fast or really took a liking to hunting. Either way, I was one proud mom, after I went to get the trophy. That reptile was as big as me. She of course did not believe it. I have a picture if you really want to see it. So the obvious answer was, hell yes, she wanted to see it. If she could see him have trouble getting dressed in his armor for the first time, she could see this photo. She touched her own wrist and a holographic image was displayed. Kurenai was speechless. It was not because it was shocking, it was because the thing looked a lot like the thing she imagined a dragon would look like. Did it breathe fire? Naruto told her that it did only when afraid. Now you can see why I was so angry he did not take a trophy and why I was so proud of him when I saw it. And this is considered normal? Kurenai wanting to know that one question. Actually, I was more tender with him than most mother are. I only threw him through the wall. I did not pick a piece of said wall and used it to spank him with it. Like my mom did to me. Yeah, but grandma could make xenomorphs cry. Void looked at him and smiled. Well, it is true, mother was much more harsh in her DSPLN practices, and I am considered by most to simply be too gentle with my boys. I simply want them to grow big, strong and make our clan proud. They would never be able to do that, if I somehow ended up accidentally crippling them like what happened to my late sister. Naruto got up and got dressed. Kurenai waited till Void left the room. I still do not understand why Auntie Spitfire decided to end her life. She was one of the best at repairing and making equipment. Her death was a tremendous loss for our clan. Void patted her son's back. You have to understand, she would never be able to hunt, and yes, she was the best at repairing and making weapons, but she would never get to use them. The sadness of never hunting again was simply too much. Well, I hope you don't do that. You have a kid on the way and I hope for more than one. The other reason is because you wouldn't want to leave your child or children orphan, cause I don't know if I could go on without you. Void could hardly believe it. They were discussing the death of a family member and this woman female managed to turn into a romantic moment. If she had learned that sooner, she might have been able to save her union with her own mate, instead of drifting apart like they had. Well, I wouldn't worry about that, Mama didn't raise no weakling. This made Void laugh. Well son, why don't we do what I haven't been able to do since I last saw you? Naruto asked if she wanted to spar. Void told him yes, but later. She just wanted to see his trophies, make sure he hadn't forgotten proper trophy handling and care. So Naruto and Void walked to the only room in the house that Kurenai actually avoided, and from the sounds coming from Void she was very proud of her little boy. 3 hours, that is how long it took for Void to look and read the record for all the new trophies. They walked outside and began a simple, hand-to-hand sparring match. Void had yet another surprise, she actually lost. Guess you are right after all, I sure did not raise a weakling. You have made me very proud, Death. Wolf promised to bring both Hunter and Nightclaw so that you might get to know your nephew. He practically grew up hearing about your hunts with his father. Naruto had a bad feeling when he heard that. So my nephew and sister-in-law both hate my guts. Void asked why would he say that. He told her that he ended up either taking a big trophy or killing so many that Wolf did very little hunting at all. He must think I am a selfish glory-seeking bstrd. Nightclaw probably thinks of me the coward that ran away from her. Add to that the fact that I have a mate and she is carrying my first child. I wanted to meet my nephew to try and patch things up with him, but both at the same time, do you really think I can? Or do I need to find a big enough xenomorph infestation and hunt there till they actually leave? Death, I will tell you this, and you better believe me. Hunter is actually very proud of you, we all are. Nightclaw has actually calmed down considerably since you met her last, and if your brother, his mate and child are coming, you must know that they want you to prepare your nephew for his first xenomorph hunt. Besides, they will be here in about 34-day cycles, so cheer up and give your mother a rematch. Void taught Kurenai everything she knew about child care, and what she knew about dealing with herm-induced behavioral problems. Everything from throwing a tantrum, to just having a fit and the many phases a child would go through as they were growing up. DSPLN was a little more brutal than what she was used to. The parent that spares the rod does not love the child. In human society this was a colorful metaphor for enforcing DSPLN, in predator society it was an actual rod, and they used it to beat the disobedient child, till he learned the importance of proper behavior. It was not lethal but it sure would cause severe pain. Kurenai had to ask if she ever used the rod on her mate. Void told her, that her mate never needed it. He always listened and if there was something he did not understand he would ask the elder or her. The elder often joked and told Void that Death treated him like he was a library. When Death was asked by another clan member he flat out told him that the elder was more experienced than him, it would be a waste not to learn from his experience. So you see, my son respected the elder, while the youngest members considered him an old guy past his prime. My son learned everything he could from me and the elder, and that is why he is the best of our clan, and why the clan respects him enough, to be posted for so long on this, our most sacred hunting ground. Kurenai began to understand something, the reason Naruto, even though he clearly did not want to be part of the village, would listen to Hiruzen and even consider listening to Tsunade. The reason was that he respected people who had lived through life and had acquired knowledge in their life. He respected them for their wisdom, which took a lifetime to obtain, but not the villagers who were motivated by ignorance. I wouldn't be surprised that he might one day be your elder one day. Kurenai did not know that actually would mean, so Void decided to ask her a question, and the question would allow her to see how a clan member would become the elder. Do you think my son capable of killing the person who he considers his own father? Does the elder have to die? Void told her that the elder was not simply the oldest of them, he was the strongest and wisest of their clan. This prevented the clan from clashing about the decisions between a new elder and the retired one. The clan would spend too much time arguing and little time actually hunting, and places like her planet would suffer for it. Unity and DSPLN, these two were an absolute must. Which is why neither myself or Wolf can do it. We both care too much about the elder to be able to do it. It would be too painful for us, to kill the person who gave us so much, and taught us so many things. But if his successor is a greedy, selfish, and corrupted bstrd, I will kill that person in less time than it take anyone present here to blink. I have been hearing about a guy named Danzo, and if the next person to become elder is like him, well, let's just say he will not be elder for more than a minute if either me or Wolf has anything to do about it. So why the interest if I become elder? You do realize that you and our children would have to leave and come to the home world, if that happens, and let's face it, the environment of the home world is more severe than on this planet. Void couldn't help it, she told them that their children would do just fine. Kurenai could eventually try the BLD fusion, and the technique had improved enough that she might survive, through a lot of pain granted while the procedure happened, but it would be less than when she gives BRTH to her first child. And so the time finally came for him to go and meet Tsunade Senju as the new Hokage. He appeared out of nowhere and asked if there was any prey for him to hunt. At first it was a rather big surprise to say the least. But looking at it, she knew what to do to prevent this from happening again. Since you know how to read of writing by now, Death, I am giving you this book. It has an update seal. When you run out of things to hunt, simply come here and touch it with mine, or the hunter commanders, and you will have more of our criminals to hunt. I just want you to bring their heads back for verification. Naruto thanked her for the book, it would make things easier. Tsunade had to ask again if he would be willing to join the village, and again he told her the answer was no. She asked if he was willing for his children to join eventually. That is a decision I leave to my mate. I for one would never allow my children to join this village. The people in it have done too much harm to me, and I wouldn't want that harm being done on my kids. They are too ignorant to ever change. He left and Tsunade realized that he indeed was only helping her, and not the village. Naruto's first target was a man that was actually a woman pretending to be a man. She used the transformation jutsu to change into various handsome men and seduced appealing young ladies, only to kill them when they were alone, in a rather cruel and painful manner. Well, my prey was not that hard to find. He looked at the man dressed in rather strange clothes. He was wearing a pink flower-printed casual suit. Most men would call him gay, but to some women it seemed like he was actually confident enough about himself to be able to wear those clothes. Naruto followed, and sure enough his prey seduced a person with a very nice figure, and an interesting face. Just as the person he was hunting sprang her trap, the victim was about to be hanged. He used his disc launcher and cut the rope. The young victim left running. Who is there, and why do you ruin my fun? Naruto could appear before her and ask her why she was doing this, it is true, but instead he launched a second disc and ordered the first two follow the second's path with his wrist computer. Are you that much of a coward? This was the last thing this person ever said. The second disc cut this person's head off and the first cut the body in half as it was falling to the ground. Both this returned, and Naruto jumped down and took the head and placed it in a scroll. The coward was you, for taking on someone who was clearly defenseless. He went on to continue to hunt, and 3 days later he appeared in front of the Hokage again. He took out the scroll and gave it to her. 5 pathetic prey, you can keep them, they are not worthy to take as trophies. Tsunade asked what rank were there on the book. He told her C. She asked the hunter commander to come on it. The man wore a mask and was quite surprised by the build of the person in the office. Here are 5 criminals, sure. Please verify their identities and prepare payment for this man. Sure was not going to miss this opportunity. You know you could do well in our hunter division, why do you not join us officially? Naruto glared at the man. I will not be part of this village, not now or ever. Be glad I am helping your elder, and do not dare to ask me such a thing again. Naruto used his cloak and left them. Why does this guy hate our village so much, but is willing to help us? Tsunade corrected the man. He was helping her, because in Death's belief she was honorable, something the rest of the village was not. So in truth he was helping her, and not the village. Kurenai's PRGNNCY was not exactly easy, and so Naruto and Wolf had to spend many days traveling to nearby star systems to help Naruto relieve some of the stress. What better way to relieve stress than killing xenomorphs? You think this is bad, you are only into your second month of her PRGNNCY. Wait till you get to the depression and mood changes. I swear when Nightclaw went through hers, I spent a solid month hunting these foul things. The two managed to clean out 3 space stations and a refueling depot. They had enough xenomorph trophies to make a rather large display. Please tell me, Wolf, that my nephew is giving your mate plenty of trouble training and that she will not be anywhere near me for the next decade or two. Wolf laughed at him and gave him a look that he knew only too well. Nope, sorry Death, you will be coming with me to his first hunt pretty soon. Nightclaw is not as angry as you think. She actually wants to meet your mate. Naruto asked if he didn't mean more like beat her mate into a bloody paste. No, honestly she is very happy for you. She was as happy as Void was when I told her about your going to become a father. You never told me why you always have such a horrible opinion about my mate. Naruto asked him if she threw him through a wall, walked through the hall and threw him into another one. Wolf told him that indeed she did, but it was their honeymoon, so of course she was a bit excited. It was to be expected. Well, look at this way, your beloved Kurenai will spend many hours healing all your injuries if Nightclaw does decide to give you a good beating. Naruto pretended to smile and told him that made him want to keep hunting for a few more weeks. Isn't marriage grand? It sure is motivating you to hunt, a lot more than you did 2 months ago. Void was checking on her grandchild's growth when she could see that the child was growing right on schedule. Now I would love to provide you with a few more stories, but there is a few things I need to mention about child care. Kurenai simply nodded and waited to hear Void's advice. It turned out that she was going to need to eat and drink a bit more meat and milk. Void told her that since Naruto was part predator, the child would need the extra nutrients to get an early start on his growth. So how big is a child in your clan when he is born? Void decided to scare her. Not that big, only around 12 to 16. I wouldn't worry too much about that, we will have to do a C-section when the times comes. You both would simply die in natural child birth. Kurenai of course asked her if she had done something like that, and she told her sure enough, she had done the procedure a few dozen times. They always complain about the scar, but I often tell them that the other alternative would be even worse. Nightclaw arrived the following day. Kurenai was surprised to see another female of her husband's clan, with a teenager also. Both touching their wrist terminals, they began to sit down in the chairs in front of her and Void's. Greetings, I am Nightclaw, Wolf's mate, and his is my son. Don't be rude, son, introduce yourself to your aunt. Hunter was clearly now happy about something. Greetings, but mind if I ask where his father and this uncle I heard so much about, but never actually met? Ah, that was the reason. I am Kurenai, and my husband and your father had been missing for a couple of weeks. They told me that they would return after they were done exterminating a few places that had been infested with the xenomorph plague. As never having seen my husband, well, if you behave. I have a few pictures that we took and you could see them. Nightclaw apologized for her son. It's just that he grew up hearing stories of his hunts. His grandfather never seems to be tired in telling the great adventures of death. I swear that the elder is using the stories to motivate the entire clan. Kurenai and Void both laughed. Well, as the leader of the clan he has to do that. 2 figures appeared right behind them. Honestly, Nightclaw, you look just about the same I last saw you. Not true, Death, my peach are wider and I have a son. You are not the same either. You didn't run away from her, like you did with me. Naruto told her that Kurenai didn't throw him through a wall, the first time they met. Void told him that she might do that now, since she was not that happy about her husband being missing for so long. His mother went into telling her that she had a small infusion of his son's blood, so she wouldn't be surprised if she was also getting stronger as her child developed. I told you, my mate would not throw you through the wall again. Honestly, we had to clear so many places, cause he figured that you would beat him into a bloody paste. Nightclaw got up, walked towards Naruto, and grabbed him. She held him up off the ground. Upset? Oh, I am upset alright. How long are you going to keep your nephew waiting? And how come you were nor present during my joining ceremony? As for the ceremony, I was never informed, and as not greeting my nephew, I don't think he has had his naming ceremony yet. That is why we are here. We have one last place to cleanse of xenomorphs, and we are here to take him to his first xenomorph hunt. So how about you letting me down, and maybe I can be there for my nephew for at least that much. Nightclaw let him down, but as soon as he did, the young predator hugged him. Thank you, uncle. I am really happy to be able to see how you hunt those things. Father, are we going on your ship or uncle's? Wolf told him that they were going in his uncle's, giving him the chance to see some of his brother's trophies. Alright boys, be back in no less than 4 hours. I think we should be ready to have the elder do the naming, and you can proceed with the presentation of your first trophy. As soon as they on Naturo's ship, the teen walked over to the place his uncle had his trophies. He nearly fainted when he saw the place. It was amazing how many trophies he saw, and so Naruto decided to teach him a very important skill. He taught his nephew how to unlock his chakra, and managed to produce at least one shadow clone. Now if you keep training like I told you, there is no reason for you not to do the same or even better than me. Wolf asked him why would he do that for his son. Naruto just said it was his way to make up for missing so much of his life. But be careful not to overdo it. That technique can be quite deadly to you as well as your prey. One at a time, till I tell you otherwise. The teen asked him how many he could do. Naruto told him with years of practice, he could summon a few hundred. But then again, he had more chakra than he did. So are you ready for your first xenomorph hunt? The teen told his father that he was. The ship had been set on course before they got on. The ship took only a few minutes to get to the place. It was tradition to let the child pick what his first kill would be. He picked the xenomorph that guarded the queen. Ambitious, that son of yours, Wolf, but then again, who am I to talk, right? Wolf and Naruto took care of most of the warriors until they reached the biggest warrior in the entire space station. Well, there is your prey. Show him what you made of, kid. The teen formed one shadow clone and he began walking on the walls and on the roof. The shadow clones used this disc to cut the bottom half of the guard's neck, and the original used the disc to cut of the rest of the next. The head came clean off. Okay, now do your trophy preservation and treatment. Me and Wolf will wait here, we only got the queen left and I will be taking this one, since your father took the last one. As the teen began to take care of his trophy preparations and all, Wolf sat down next to Naruto and whispered. Actually, Death, I have a bit of a secret to tell you. I am not this child's father. He is actually older than he looks, he was in cryostasis for a really long time, his body took a great deal of time to adjust. He is the first to have to undergo treatment for so long. He is your son, Death. I wanted to tell you, but Nightclaw made me swear that I could only tell you after he killed his first xenomorph. So the night she threw me through the wall. She ended up having her way with me. I hope you aren't upset with me, brother. Wolf laughed and told him he was happy to be Nightclaw's mate and to raise the child as his own. He merely wanted him to know the real reason for wanting him to come to his first hunt. Thanks, Wolf. I hope I can do the same for you next time. As they returned and he showed all the women his trophy. Nightclaw hugged her boy, in a way that made both men feel sorry for the poor kid, they swore they could hear his bones cracking. Elder, my son, has killed a xenomorph guardian, I will send you the video from the witnesses shortly. She asked both men to send the video of his kill to the elder and they did. I see, stand before me, hunter. The teen stood and was waiting to hear from the elder. You are no longer hunter. From this day forward you are shadow. For you have learned to use your shadow to hunt and kill your prey. I accept and have registered your first trophy. May you bring honor to our clan, and to your parents. Naruto told him to take the scroll on the top of the shelf. That should teach you the necessary chakra control exercises you will need. I will see your progress during our next hunt with your father. Naruto. Please, Nightclaw told me what happened. Even if you don't remember, you should at least hug him once. Kurenai was clearly asking him to hug Shadow. I will not disrespect my brother. He is the reason why I was saved, and I care for him. Wolf walked over to him and placed his hand on his shoulder. Brother, he knows already. Go and hug your first son, I am sure Nightclaw will not mind. Nightclaw moved aside, and this time Shadow jumped on him and gave him a rather painful hug. Well, I can tell you this much, you sure inherited your mother's freaky strength. Nightclaw looked a bit upset. Hey, I can't help that. As the evening was over and Shadow finished telling his hunt story, Wolf, Nightclaw, and Shadow left. Void asked Naruto if he was alright. He looked at his mother, and told her he was simply worried about how Kurenai will react to all the new developments. You are not the first or last man to have a child out of wedlock. But you remain faithful to me. Naruto promised that he would only choose to mate with her. Void was actually preparing dinner by the time she was finished talking with Naruto. It seems that Kurenai had been teaching his mother some of the cooking methods. Kurenai and Void seemed to get along better and better as her PRGNNCY continued, which had a few hiccups along the way. First, Death went on more hunts as her PRGNNCY became not as easy to manage. Her mood swing were something he never expected to be so fierce. In one particular nasty one, she placed him in a genjutsu for an entire day. The genjutsu had been of his kids acting like an absolute gang of BRTS. Stressed of a PRGN intimate, can be best avoided by doing what we do best, Wolf told him. So he went hunting. By the end of her second trimester, the hunter ninja of the village had to finally complain with the Hokage. It appears that in the previous 3 months, there had been a sizable reduction in rogue ninja, and the ones that would have betrayed the village did not out of sheer fear. In truth, Death had to deal with 4 space stations being infested with xenomorphs, and for some strange reason Shadow knew exactly what space station he was going to, because, when the airlock finally opened there, he was waiting with a smile on his face and a few xenomorph corpses in a pile behind him. Shadow, would you tell me how exactly do you know I was going to be here? Shadow told him that he always picked places that were relatively close to the Omen world. Death did not want to believe it, but he did think it. I guess I am becoming easy to read. I wonder if that was the real reason for the elder to stop going out to hunt. Somewhere out in space, the very same elder wondered how was Death dealing with being a father. He hoped that he had better luck than he did. After all, his son turned traitor after seeing all the recognition Death had obtained. The two had a lovely time talking and killing xenomorphs. They even made the Xenoqueen angry by telling her to wait, which surprisingly she did. They still had to decide who gets to kill the huge Xenoqueen, so they decided with an ancient and well-known method: paper, rock, scissors. That was the last straw. The Xenomorph lost her entire nest and the killers were playing a game to decide who gets to kill her. She was raging mad, so mad that she did not see the traps that Shadow had placed in the around her. The one playing the game with Death was a Shadow clone after all. The launchers fired and cut the Xenoqueen to pieces. Death congratulated Shadow on a very well-planned strategy. Shadow just said that it was something he came up from the stories he was told by Wolf. The two began to take their picks of trophies and clean them, all the while Death felt like asking what was the real reason he should up. Shadow looked almost embarrassed to tell him, but in the end he said he wanted to spend some quality time with his dad, especially since his little brother was going to get most of his attention. Death decided to ask his son how he came. He told him a fellow member of the clan gave him a lift. That was unheard of, no one in the clan would do that unless. Death told Shadow to get behind him and he deployed 50 Shadow clones to act like a shield. Sure enough, 20 of them were destroyed by a plasma blast. The one who gave you this lift, did he have a mandible missing, and a cross-shaped scar on his forehead? Shadow was surprised to hear his father give such an accurate description. Death switched his visor to neural scan. The answer came to him just as he expected. Is that any way to trick your own nephew? I would think you were above that, Slicer. Shadow could not believe it. The one that gave him the lift and tried to kill him was his uncle. Nightclaw would be very sad to see her own brother try and kill her child. A big, muscular and heavily scarred predator turned off his cloak. I don't want to hear about honor, from the BSTRD that impregnated my sister, and didn't have the honor to consider her his mate, or even show up for his son's BRTH. I will kill you, and make sure you never get the chance to harm my sister again. Shadow was ready to jump in to help in the fight, but Death told him to sit down and watch. It happened so fast that Shadow could not believe it. The armor around him seemed to glow a dark red, there was a malice in the air, almost gave the air a bitter taste to it. Slicer was given that name since he was an expert in the use of a shard edge. He ran towards Death, clearly underestimating him. It was a mistake he would not live to regret. As he ran towards him, he did as the costumes dictated. He was ready to kill the traitor. Using his hands, he made something appear right on the path of Slicer. It was a massive beam of fire, and it was so wide that his enemy had no way to avoid it. He was heavily burned and fell on his back. The pain was so severe he could not stand up or keep his grip on his weapon. Shadow transmitted the video from his visor directly to the elder. He was impressed that Death had not gone soft, living amongst the humans. The elder took a few seconds to decide it, and he called for Slicer's immediate execution. Slicer, I was unconscious when your sister had her way with me. I didn't even know Shadow was my son till a few months ago. But betraying a member of your own clan, you know how that would end. Wolf has made Nightclaw a very happy mate. Take this knowledge with you to your grave and rest in peace. Death took his own disc launcher and cut his head clean off. Shadow walked over to Death and told him they would need to wait till the clan sent a ship to pick up Slicer's remains, and that when they did, they would also reprogram his ship's registration so that the ship would be his. Death told him that he should keep it himself. The members of the clan appeared and did as Death requested. Slicer's ship was reprogrammed and registered as Shadow's. In part, it also seemed that Slicer was going to inherit the ship to him upon his death. It was clear that he had planned to murder Death, then disappear, leaving a video of the two dying from injuries and himself using his self-destruct to take care of the xenomorphs. A lie that was to be recorded by the ship. Instead, Slicer died, and now his nephew had his ship. For Death, it was something that was simply avoidable. If Slicer ever bothered to talk with him, he could have told him something, and this entire misunderstanding would not have caused his madness or his death. The elder, it seems, also told him to return to the mothership. He only hoped that. Nightclaw was away on a hunt. It would not feel right to tell her how her brother had acted and how he had to kill him. She would understand, but not without giving him a few dozen broken bones, and accusations that he was the bad BLD and not her brother. He of course had a defense thanks to the video Shadow provided. As soon as he walked into the mothership, two things happened that he did not wish to happen. First, Nightclaw gave a bound-crushing hug to Shadow. Death could only feel sympathy for the boy, that in reality was his son. The second, he saw Nightclaw crying. It seems Slicer sent a message to her telling her that he was helping her son and Death on a hunt, but it did not look like they were going to make it. Slicer may have sent the message as soon as he saw the two hunting xenomorphs. The message was sent from the infested station. There was no mistaking the coordinates on the message. Death, come forward. Death did so and kneeled in front of the elder as their customs dictated. Stand, Death, let me have a look at you. I heard from young Shadow what happened in that place, but I still need to know from you what are your thoughts on this matter. Death stood straight and he removed his headgear. Many of the people were surprised that after all this time, he had no scars at all, and his hair was braided just like themselves. Death began telling what happened, and Shadow was clearly embarrassed as Death told of his accomplishments during that particular hunt. As to Slicer, he merely wished the situation could have been avoided. Nightclaw could not believe that he was so forgiving of her brother's betrayal. Death asked that he buried with honors. The elder told him that he had seen the betrayal and thus he must be buried according to the customs regarding the burial of a traitor to the clan. His body would set adrift near a sun, where the blaze of the sun will incinerate the remains, as they would erase any records of his existence. The only people that would remember were himself, the ones that collected the remains, Death, Shadow and his sister. Nightclaw asked Death how was his life with the Omen female. He told her that in a couple of months he would have a child with her. So his life was very good. He asked how did Shadow know where to find him, so many times. Nightclaw laughed and told him he was too predictable, he always was easy to figure out where he would be. It was easy for her, why would it be any different for her child? Shadow asked if he could hunt some more with Death. Nightclaw had no reason to deny her son this request, and with the elder's approval they left on Death's ship. Shadow could call for his anytime. The pair next went to see about a few ship upgrades. It seems that Slicer had not taught his nephew about proper ship maintenance. Death bought the upgrades, mainly a new scanner and navigational computer, he paid in pelts and a few body parts. The seller was more than happy to accept the payment. As Death began to teach him on ship maintenance, he asked him why did he not ask the clan for the upgrades. Shadow found the entire situation strange. Death told him he was the guardian of their clan's most prized hunting grounds, and more than likely he would have to defend it against other clans, that would try and poach on their hunting ground. He needed the upgrade so that he could have an early warning, if a ship had entered into orbit. This would give him the place where the poachers landed, and how many to expect. Shadow watched as Death finished explaining everything, and as soon as they were done they received a message from Void, for Death to return quickly. His child was to be born earlier than they had expected. When he heard that he asked Shadow if he wanted to return to the mothership. Shadow told him he wanted to be there for the birth of his sibling. Death accepted that he be present. He sent course back to where his mate was and arrived as she was clearly giving birth. It seems the scan previously done on Kurenai proved incorrect. Kurenai gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She insisted that the child be named Kushina, for a long-dead friend. Kurama was quite happy to hear that. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for more crossovers. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Hector Flores on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video, till then goodbye.